guys, it's Danny. Today we're just gonna play a little bit with some polychilos type Phalaenopsis, which are these beautiful so-called summer blooming Phalaenopsis because they bloom in the summertime and are not induced into blooming by a temperature drop such as the flower shop Phalaenopsis. That's a little bit besides the point, but I know there are many new people on my channel, and when you hear Phalaenopsis, you immediately think either of the mini phals or the normal flower shop phals. No, these are not those types. They're quite different. You can find these usually in nurseries. If you're very lucky to live in an area where you can find them in flower shops, hey, that's amazing. I'm jealous. But generally speaking, they're not available at the flower shop, but orchid nurseries. Wow, what an intro, very besides the point. Anyway, so I'm gonna take you along as I repotted two of these girls because I discovered some mold issues in their pots, which between you and me are not uncommon with orchids. The more you have, the more you will be prone to having some mold issues in the pot. So we're gonna talk a little bit about that and how to address it, how I like to address it, and why you should address it. So don't forget to give this video a like if you end up enjoying it and learning something new, and hey, why not subscribe? I post 3 times a week. Right, so before we actually start and I'm going to show you the problem orchids, let me address a question that I got recently. I always get this question, and this is, how do I make the leaves of my orchids so glossy? Well, I'm gonna share with you my secret. It's a very well kept secret. I don't like to share this with other people because I want to have the best orchids, so don't tell anybody. I'm joking, you guys. Okay, so 2 things. First of all, these particular Phalaenopsis naturally have glossier leaves than other Phalaenopsis, and this typically happens with new leaves. So you can see this one, it's the Samara. Look at this leaf. It's natural. I didn't necessarily have to do anything for it, but I will say that good care and good fertilizer enhances this quite a bit in my experience. The worse the condition you have for your orchid, the worse the leaves will look as well. But generally speaking, it is natural. As time goes by, they will lose this shine, although again, between you and me, if you polish a little bit the leaves, the shine will come back. Which leads me to point number 2, the quantity of dust. I currently have my polychilos Phalaenopsis in the Millsbow cabinet, which is made of glass. Usually the door is closed, you can see, and this prevents excessive amounts of dust to settle on the leaves. And let me tell you, my area is very dusty and very windy, the perfect combination. So most of my orchids are pretty much always covered by a layer of something. I try to keep it in check, but you know, at some point it's a little too much. And when you have a little bit of dust on the leaves, they will just not appear as glossy. So yeah, if your orchids don't have a lot of dust on them, they will appear glossier. Obviously, you can maintain them glossy by staying on top of removing that dust with a soft cloth, maybe a microfiber cloth. From time to time, the older leaves can be a little polished with that cloth as well, and they will look nice. But in order to do that, you have to have one very important thing, and that is time. It's something I don't have. So probably that's why in my videos you don't see these orchids being so glossy, because in all fairness, I could be a little better at removing the dust, but I'm not. So probably these orchids stand out a little bit more due to A, their natural genetics, but also B, the fact that I don't have to work for it as much and dust doesn't really accumulate on them. Other than that, really, it's just the best care you can provide. The rest will be done by them, and as I was saying, the polychilos Phalaenopsis are known to have very glossy leaves, much glossier than the orchids in flower shops, since the flower shop Phalaenopsis are typically based on the actual Phalaenopsis subgenus, not the polychilos. So things like the Schilleriana, Stuartiana, all of these things which don't have as glossy leaves, they are typically the ancestors of the Phalaenopsis in the flower shops. And as a little side note, no, I don't use stuff that glossen up the leaves. I have not used my leaf shine, which I only use for pests, nothing else. I did not use it in a year or ever since I set up this Millsbow. The whole point was to protect these orchids from pests, and it's working out great. I did not have to use any oils on them, which I'm so happy about. It's always better to prevent than to treat, you know? If you know me, you know that I'm not a fan of any type of leaf shine made out of food. I would not recommend it. If you want to do it at your own risk. I'm not in any way, shape, or form condoning any of these. So yeah, they're not treated with leaf shine or anything. I have not sprayed them in a year with any type of preventative solution. And I will have to say the Millspell stuff works out so good for me. If I could put all of my orchids in glass cabinets, I would. I can't, it's not feasible, but I would definitely do it. Look how pretty they look and how safe they are and how glossy they are. Who wouldn't want to have that? Yeah, sadly, everything has a price. Anyway, with that said, let's just start the topic of today, shall we? Let me show you the orchids that have some issues. All right, so here are the two problematic orchids. Well, they're not really problematic. You can see they're okay. But there is a danger when you have mold present in your home, and that danger is your health being affected. Now, molds are fungi, and fungi are of hundreds of different types, if not even more. I'm no expert in fungi, but yeah, there are a lot of them. Some of them are absolutely harmless, some are beneficial for plants, some are beneficial for us as well, we eat mushrooms, while others are really detrimental for our health. You want to come here, see what I'm doing? Joey's out. I doubt she will want to come, but she's curious. Come here. Oh boy. Joey's not a very good flyer, and I'm not entirely sure why, because she flies every single day. She got a lot better, but she's definitely not as good as Maya. So now she kind of ran into some orchids. Luckily, they're soft and non-toxic. Oh, my poor friend. Oh, you're okay. You're okay. So many distractions. Anyway, this is not a tutorial. It's a sort of vlog, so take it as it is. I'm not really interested in following my typical tutorial format. Also, there is a lot of noise outside. Hopefully, I can talk over it again. I can't control it. Not a good day for a proper tutorial. This is just a vlog. Oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy. Okay, so some of these fungi and molds are seriously detrimental for your health. They might be okay for the orchid, although this one does not look okay at all. Wow, okay, no, this one is going outside. But you have to always consider your health. And here I'm not talking about having allergies. Even if you don't have allergies or you don't have problems with your respiratory system, if that's a good way of describing it, it still doesn't mean you have to be exposed to molds. It's actually seriously bad. Luckily for me, I don't live in this room, but most of you, I'm sure you're growing your orchids in your home. Well, we need to be careful that we protect our health, because this is a beautiful hobby that can help us psychologically a lot, but it does not have to come at the cost of our health. And one of the main things we need to think about is the air we breathe and how these orchids affect the air. Yes, they can offer us oxygen, they're plants, but what's around them maybe is detrimental. Anyway, enough talking. Let's go ahead and take care of these orchids. So in the first pot, I have a type of mold which usually forms when the medium is very old. This doesn't form on all orchids. It sometimes can form on sphagnum moss as well. This is not all that bad. I've seen it before. It's pretty common. Looks like a spider's web, a very thick one. Doesn't mean it's good, doesn't mean it should stay, but yeah, I don't think it affects anything. I've seen it in many pots, especially with the orchids that I bought, and the orchids didn't seem to mind it all that much. But then again, I mind it and I don't want it. So it is time to repot this orchid, but in my opinion, this is the most common thing you will ever encounter with your orchid. Stay calm, it's not actually affecting the orchid way too much, but do address it when you have some time for your own health. This, on the other hand, it's a different type of mold. Ooh. Okay, this one actually, it smells so bad. I'm gonna give you a close-up. I'm gonna put it back right now, and I'm gonna film it outside. Oh, this can't be good. I wish I could open the window, but it's so noisy. I have a very noisy neighbor. Okay, I actually do have more footage with this mold, because this is something that attacked the medium that I had outside, stored outside, which, by the way, I don't do anymore. It's a type of fungus that I do believe is detrimental for plants. And if you look at this orchid, you can see it's not growing all that well compared to the others. The leaves are not big, they're actually tinier and tinier. The root system doesn't look all that happy about the fungus situation. And also there is a residue, a yellow residue. Now, if you do a little bit of research, you can find that there is a fungus or a mushroom, a yellow one, which is very, very common with houseplants. And it is described as toxic. So I don't want this thing anywhere near me. So what happened with this one was probably I used the exact same affected medium when I repotted it last year, and I didn't solve any issue, and the thing kind of aggravated without me noticing it. It is time to remove it, but this one actually smells. I feel very uncomfortable to do this in the greenhouse, so I'm gonna go outside with both of these orchids. I'm actually gonna put a mask. Oh boy, I will. So actually, let's go do that really fast and come back with these orchids already sanitized. How about that? Alrighty then, holy moly, that was bad. The other orchid, not this one. So with the muscadine, I forgot to tell you what these guys are. Oh no, where's the tag? This is the beautiful muscadine variety boyhar, which I named in the memory of one of my lovely subscribers, or actually members' mother. So as you can see with this one, I didn't really have much loss, the typical old roots type of a situation. I sprayed it with hydrogen peroxide anyway, just to be sure, and a little PS. Look how much hydrogen peroxide I have here. It's the 3% concentration, and this was actually gifted to me by one of my viewers from my town. She left it at one of the flower shops here. Thank you so much for the gift. I hope you've enjoyed the gift that I left you at the flower shop. But yeah, oh my goodness, I have a lot of hydrogen peroxide, and yeah, I do know that I can order this at a specific pharmacy in town. I will check it out. This is 1 liter of 3%. So whenever you're dealing with molds, fungi, things of the sort, you can actually use hydrogen peroxide 3% that you can buy at the pharmacy typically. You don't need to dilute it, you don't need to rinse it if it's 3%. I wouldn't go for higher concentrations. I think it can be a little damaging. In all of these years, I didn't experience much damage, if at all, on the root tips and roots of orchids with this particular concentration. So that's what I always recommend, because this is what I use. And in this way, you can eliminate whatever molds and spores you have on the root system of your orchid without actually harming the orchid. The other alternative is bleach. A weak bleach solution. I personally don't feel comfortable putting bleach on the orchid roots. Some orchids might actually be very sensitive to it. I personally stick to this, so this is what I recommend. I don't know about the others. So with this one, it was pretty obvious that the mold wasn't such a big deal. Also, do you remember when I made this little pot, when I put the little jewels on it? At that time, it didn't have any mold. And this was a few months ago. So yeah, in my books, it's just a breaking down medium type of a mold. Nothing really to worry about. Address it at some point when you can, more for your sake than for the orchid's sake. You'll see how bad the other one was though. So this one, I will repot really fast with my moss and bark type of mix, which I have been doing for the past 2.5 years at this point. It works really well in my climate. And PS, I will be sure to link you down below to my beginner's tutorial on repotting Phalaenopsis, which is a lot more detailed and a lot better structured for beginners. It's a tutorial. Today is not a tutorial. So if you're interested in that, you can check that out. I'm just gonna move really fast today just to get this done and not bore all of you with the same type of repotting that I keep doing for the past couple of years. This one didn't actually have slow release fertilizer, so I will be sure to add. Again, down below in the description, you have a more extended video on slow release fertilizers, what I use them, how I use them. And ta-da, my orchid is potted. I will go water it really well. Yes, I do water my orchids after I repot them. The root system was not very damaged, so even if the orchid is in bloom, which she will be for the duration of the warm season, which is a long time here, so I couldn't really wait for it to be done with the blooming, but it doesn't really matter. It is a sequential bloomer. If this flower fades, another one will take its place really fast. So there we go. One more thing, I want to write on the tag when I added the slow release fertilizer, and we are done with this one. Ta-da! How fast was that? All right, now this was a totally different story altogether. First of all, the root system was pretty affected. I don't have way too many roots left compared to what we started with, and I do believe it was because of that fungus/mold, whatever it was. Second, it smelled like nothing else. I had to wear a mask. But anyway, you could see from the footage how badly infested everything was. It's weird because it kind of went unnoticed, but yeah, I can definitely see the results on the outside. The orchid is now producing bigger and bigger leaves, although it should, and also you can see the root system is quite affected. Hard to explain, it looks burnt. It's not flexible, even though I just watered this orchid. Some of the roots are normal, but some, look at it, it really looks burnt, doesn't it? It also feels burnt. It doesn't feel like the normal velamen. It feels dried out, just like you bleach your hair a little excessively. That's how it feels like, and it has nothing to do with the hydrogen peroxide. So I dosed this one in hydrogen peroxide, both on the leaves and the root system. I usually don't spray the leaves, sorry. But in this case, I wanted to cover the stem, the leaves, everything, just so I make sure that I remove the spores as well, because that is a bad fungus. I don't want it anywhere near me. I don't want to breathe it. I don't want to see it. I don't want it touching anything. That did not look good. When I also sprayed it with hydrogen peroxide, whatever was coming off the roots was yellow. So again, I do believe it's that yellow mushroom that I found an article of. I will link you to it down below. Yeah, not good. It did not smell good quite at all. So this one I completely dosed in hydrogen peroxide. I left outside to dry so that I don't have problems with rotting in the stem, particularly because it will be in the Millsbow cabinet. And I washed the pot and the decorative pot, which I will reuse, with bathroom cleaner. I washed it twice, just to be sure. So I think that did the trick. Time to pot it up. Okay, so we're gonna do the same thing. We're going to pot the orchid in the exact same pot. So let's go ahead and do this really fast. All right, here we are. Now, luckily for me, this thing did not spread. Now, this one used to sit on the upper shelf, and I did actually check everybody here, and nobody actually has issues with that fungus. Everybody is okay, which is great. So that's a little bit surprising, but maybe not so much. I'm guessing that it needs direct contact to spread. So imagine if I would have shared water. Oh yeah, I would have spread it with that, definitely. But also I think the fact that I'm using decorative pots, it kind of kept everything contained, not to mention the top layer of bark, which, oh my goodness, is actually containing quite a lot of stuff. That mold did not make it on the top at all. There is no humidity there. Molds like humidity, so it didn't actually form on the top of the pot. So that was a good thing because it maintained all of the problem here in the decorative pot. So I think I was a little lucky with it because there's really no other orchid with issues. So yay, that's great. But I will be sure to check them from time to time, especially the orchids that I have for quite a lot of time, just to see if I have issues. Other than that, you could see that the muscadine, it really wasn't such a big deal. And if you ever see that type of mold, yeah, it will have a little bit of a smell, but it's really nothing all that worrying. Take care of it because it's good for you, but I don't think the orchid will suffer. However, the other type of mold, oh boy, I really dislike that one. Very different type of fungus, so take care of that as soon as you see it because it's not good news, is what I believe. Alright, so that said, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. Hope you've enjoyed your time and yeah, you learned something from my experience. Subscribe to my channel for more orchid videos, tutorials, experiments, updates, and other fun orchid subjects. If you wish to support the channel, do consider becoming a member or visit the merch store linked down below in the description. You can also follow me on Instagram and Facebook. It's always nice to stay in touch there as well. And I'll see you next time. Bye!